rise up, my sweet little garbanzo beans. So welcome for all my cute little baby beans who have their south node in Sagittarius. So just like a little kind of quick prep for this reading, or a quick disclaimer, I guess. Your south node is one of the major areas in your chart that indicates past life energy. And this is mostly because your south node represents an energy that you have already mastered. Excuse me. This would always put your north node as opposite your south node on the wheel of the zodiac. And the goal here is to move toward the energy of your north node and detach from the energy of your south node in order to achieve balance at a soul level. Like I said, this is only one indicator of, past life energy, and this doesn't necessarily indicate like your most prominent past life or your only other past life. This is just the past life that is coming through and impacting this lifetime most prominently. And so today the goal of the reading is to kind of take a look at that past life and get a better feel for what sort of messages or energy is coming through that might be impacting you in this life. If you have an interest in diving into your natal chart, more in depth, I do offer natal chart readings. They are very long, but I do offer natal chart readings, the link for which, along with my shop link in general, will be in the description box down below. If you're not 100% sure what your south node is, I also did leave a link in the description box to go generate a natal chart report just to kind of look at what your placements are. Excuse me. And I already mentioned the link for that's in the description box. I'm not sponsored by nor affiliated with the site that I listed there in any way, shape, or form. I just like it, so I wanted to share it. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention too is that keep in mind this is a general reading. It's going to be different for everybody. And this is also going to be impacted by the house that your south node is in, as well as any interplanetary aspects interacting with your south node. Excuse me. So this is why looking at your full chart and having it analyzed and interpreted might be of use to you. Similarly, I've been thinking about offering this as a reading. So if you're interested in seeing this pop up in my shop so you can order this for yourself, please let me know in the comments, or you're free to DM me and I'm happy to make a custom reading, because if there's enough interest, I will add this one. So with all of that being said, let us dive in. I have picked out from the Astro deck, and I want to mention also too, all my decks are going to be linked in the description box down below. But I picked out from my Astro deck the Sagittarius card to represent you fine folks. And so this says enthusiastic, philosophical, independent, generous, ethical, seeking, happy-go-lucky, adventurous, honest, bareback. Sorry, I'm trying to be a mature adult. Unbridled, experiential, lucky, boundless, traveling, risk-taking, tactless, and self-righteous. Okay, so there's a lot going on with Sagittarius in the south node, and I want to mention too, back up, Sinessa. Every energy of the zodiac has light and shadow sides, and so just because we're talking about the south node and the energies that we need to detach from, this kind of more points to more of the shadowy aspect of whatever is in your south node. And so what I was picking up specifically for Sagittarius and south node as I was meditating in preparation for this reading is this kind of what did it say? There's definitely this adventurous, but also this, where did it go, you guys? Risk-taking. There we go. There's risk-taking energy. So the biggest thing I was kind of picking up, because Sagittarius is known so much for, like it says here, travel, expansion, in the search of higher abstract and philosophical knowledge. Excuse me. I was kind of picking up an energy from this past life of really struggling to lay down roots. And this isn't necessarily a problem, but this may have meant that you had to forego other endeavors in a past life, and you're being asked to kind of oh gosh, how do I want to put it? I feel like you're being asked to be more grounded in this lifetime. I also feel like you're being asked to integrate philosophical knowledge with like practical grounded knowledge, right? Because the opposite of Sagittarius is Gemini, and Gemini is more about kind of like intellectual concrete knowledge. This is also kind of the energy of, you might be somebody who has moral issues you're very committed to, which isn't a problem, but like you might have issues where you're very, very morally committed to a particular stance, and sometimes that stance might not always be the most practical, and this might create a barrier, is really what I'm feeling here, a barrier between you and other people, in the sense that, you might be very committed to, I'm trying to think of a good example. You might be very committed to something where it makes it hard for you to connect with people that don't believe like you believe. And, it's really interesting because Sagittarius is kind of this double-edged sword, where, it is this energy, it's Jupiter here, so we have this energy of expansion, of wanting to really see the world, wanting to know more, wanting to get a higher perspective. So it's hard to think of this as closed-minded, but the kind of like the shadowy aspect of this energy is that, excuse me, I'm sorry, is that when there is some type of like moral dilemma, or you've taken a moral stance, when you have picked a side on a moral issue, this energy tends to get a little bit, like it says, self-righteous, but like a little bit overzealous. Or again, sometimes there might be, because this is a lot about like higher moral and philosophical ideals, there might be this bridge between these ideologies and implementing them in like a concrete way, or like, again, because your North Node would be in Gemini, there might be like this bridge between your beliefs and your moral stances and a practical way to plan those out or implement those, and that might create, like I said, a little bit of a barrier between you and other people from time to time, and that coupled with, again, this kind of energy of struggling to lay down roots excuse me, might make it hard to, this is like the kind of energy of like, when you touch many people's lives but you connect with very few, or you carry very few with you, which again is not always like a problem, but it can be, this can be kind of asking you to ground yourself more, both ground yourself as a person, as a soul, but also to ground your ideas more in like, I have a straight hair here, sorry, it was gonna drive me nuts, but also to ground your ideas more in a practical sense, and to be a little bit more flexible in your ideas, to be a little more flexible in your moral philosophy, right? Because again, this puts your North Node in Gemini, and this is like the energy of somebody who is, very intellectual, very very like comfortable with concrete knowledge, likes to learn a lot of like this is more like experiential knowledge, and this is more like, kind of like book learning, for lack of a better term. So it's just kind of grounding, I feel like grounding your ideas, as well as your philosophies. So let us pull y'all a past life card and kind of dig a little bit deeper into this lifetime that's coming out. I'm going to try to shuffle on camera. It is not my strong suit. Oh, it's this one, you guys. It's this one. Okay. So, we have... I'm not surprised. Okay, sorry, I'm cackling to myself. Spirituality and religion. This is like the Sagittarius card. Okay. So again, there may have also been this past life that's coming through. I feel like you have devoted yourself to these pursuits, to this spiritual path, to this religious path. And once again, the biggest thing I'm feeling is that this created a barrier between you and other people, either in like an actual physical way, like you're always on the road, or there's like the depiction of a monk here, so this could be more like you're in a monastery, or you live a life of solitude in the hopes of spiritually seeking, You could have been, like I said, on the road a lot, like been a missionary, and it was hard for you to like lay down roots. So it's either in that very like grounded, practical way, or I feel like this created a barrier in, again, your ideas, because we have a book here as well. And so I feel like this is, and I think it's interesting here, we have like this really like, this like noticeable prominent like kind of hand placement. I don't know if you can see, but the person's hand is kind of like draped down, and we have hands here again. And for me, whenever I see hands, this is not only an image of empowerment, because we use our hands to do everything, but this is also a symbol of our humanity, right? So like, I know it sounds kind of strange, but our hands, the way they're set up, is kind of one of the things that sets us apart, and we're able to utilize a lot of tools, and we have both gross and fine motor skills, which, as a side note, there's never a time when the phrase gross motor skills isn't absolutely hilarious. So I'm doing everything in my power not to laugh, and I'm like, gross motor skills. Anyway, my little asides aside. Can we also comment how we have a flame, and then we have a picture of a flame? Like, all I can imagine is this little card is like, oh yeah, I'm a candle too. Nothing to see here. Carry on, folks. So yeah, you know, our hands are not only kind of like our humanity, but they're also our empowerment. And so to me, when I see this, you had a very spiritual past life. There was this like really incessant quest for knowledge, to the point where I feel like, again, you devoted yourself to your spiritual path. Potentially at the expense of other pursuits, like other material pursuits, other relational pursuits, other pathways that involve learning. You just devoted yourself completely to your spiritual practice and to your religious practice. And I feel like, because we have the candle image here too, this is in order to really get in touch with something at the soul, but this was to find enlightenment. So what I'm kind of feeling like happened in this past life is that there was an early formative event or series of events that caused you to, like what they're showing me is kind of like this path, and then just like, boop, like quick left, and that caused you to kind of angle off in a different direction very sharply. And I do feel like, because again, what I'm kind of picking up with the hand placement is like why, and trying to understand your own humanity in juxtaposition with your spiritual self, with your soul, and understand that in a way that empowers you spiritually and, you know, in terms of your human pathway, your human existence. So this is like a very, very spiritual lifetime. This is very, very deep. I like this quite a lot. So let's pull you guys a numerology guidance card and dig a little deeper. Okay, that is too many. Adventurers right there, by the way. Not surprised. Sorry if you can see the lights flickering. I live in an old house. I do my best, but it's the old house. So, okay, let's see what you guys got. You got, yeah. All right, you got surrender. Okay, let me make sure there's no glare. Perfect. Sorry, I'm working with the best that I can. We got it? Yeah, okay. So with surrender, it's interesting. First of all, we have purple and we have red, and we have purple and red over here. So this to me is really talking about like your root chakra and like your third eye crown chakra. This is, you know, this is top to bottom, T to B. And so, what I feel like this is really talking about is kind of two different things. This is a dual perspective. First of all, this is talking to me about, again, this past life that came through. I do feel like you had to surrender a lot of the material world, or the traditional trajectory of the material world. So this may have been like, you know, having a spouse and a family. This may have been having, you know, like having a house, settling down. This may have been, you know, having like a particular profession or etc. This is like there was a trajectory, and again, boop, like veering off left, and you had to surrender that in order to find truth. And again, because we kind of have like the first and seventh chakras sort of pointed to with this color imagery, this is like really discovering what is true to you as a soul, and what is true spiritually and religiously, both for yourself and I feel for others. Excuse me. I also want to say too, I feel like for some of you, this was like a process of like this is like an ego death process and a spiritual seeking process, and then you tried to bring that information to others, and I feel that that was not well received, and as a result, this is kind of what created a little bit of that barrier between you and other people. Is that you just, with ethical here, it feels like you created an entirely different system of ethics, or a system of ethics that was spiritual but not religious. And I feel like that was kind of the rub here, is that there may have been some elements of more traditional religious dogma that didn't sit well with you, and I feel like that's where there was this clashing in part. So that, it's not going to be for everybody, that's just for some of you. But another thing I feel like this is talking about with surrender is this need in this lifetime to kind of surrender some of this energy and kind of put down a little bit more roots in some way, shape, or form, as well as kind of I wouldn't say necessarily like opening yourself up to like new philosophies. I don't feel like this is like a closed off energy, but again, there's this element of how to implement that in like a very practical way, and this might be surrendering some of those ideals or some of those non-negotiable points in order to ground your moral and philosophical and spiritual beliefs, if that makes sense, right? So it's like in an ideal world, we would all act like this, it would be like this, in a philosophical moral vacuum, it would end up like this. But if this is where we are and this is where we want to be, it's kind of coming to terms with the fact that maybe we start here instead of kind of insinuating that everybody should do X, Y, Z, and if they don't, they fall short morally. It's that kind of an energy. I hope that makes sense. So this to me is kind of talking about like a little bit of a compromise and surrendering a little bit of those more staunch moral beliefs, because that's definitely the funny thing about Sagittarius, is that both Sagittarius and Gemini are mutable, so they tend to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more open, a little more changing, but they can struggle with being very concrete and very grounded, as well as like very decided, and B, especially with Sagittarius, there's like, if it's a philosophical or moral issue, that's the only area they can get a little bit rigid or a little bit stuck sometimes. Is that, because Sagittarian energy is known for being so expansive and is really oriented toward learning, especially higher learning, higher spirituality, they do tend to be very, very open. So when they kind of take a moral stance on something, they tend to be a little bit more rigid with it, because this is an energy of like having seen the sites, done the research, experienced the people, the places, and you create this very multifaceted worldview as a result. So when that is questioned, sometimes it doesn't go very well. So to me, this is kind of surrendering that, again, that the very, very high moral standard, or like making some concessions in order to make some progress as opposed to no progress, right? Like it's that idea of like, it's better to do a little bit of it well than try to do all of it perfectly and fail completely, right? So this is kind of what I'm picking up. But let's pull you guys some tarot and dig a little deeper. Ooh, jeez. All right. I'm trying to decide if this, I feel like this is upright. This is the Herbcrafter's tarot, by the way. It is completely gorgeous. I highly recommend it. The artwork is totally stunning, beautiful, just wonderful. Okay, so you guys got the Two of Wands. And I will say this one came out sideways, neither upright nor reverse, so keep that in mind, and we'll talk about that more later. Then you got the Queen of Wands reversed. Okay, that makes sense. And okay, the Queen of Pentacles upright. This is exactly what we're talking about. Holy cannoli. Okay, so with the Two of Wands, like I said, originally this did come out sideways, neither upright nor reversed. So this to me talks about this kind of intermediate energy as you're moving from this south node into your north node and kind of switching things up a little bit. But this is always when you have a choice. This is also kind of talking about an energetic portal. And this is when, traditionally in the tarot, there's a man standing on a castle wall, and there's a wand to his right and it's bolted to the wall. And there's a wand in his left hand. I shouldn't have made that gesture, sorry. There's a wand in his left hand, and he's got the globe in his right hand, signifying the world, right? So he has the whole world. He could go everywhere. This also signifies the end of a major cycle that's freed him up to go in a new direction. And so he's looking out over the wall and he's making his plans about where he wants to go, what he wants to do, especially spiritually, what direction he wants to take, how he wants to grow. And I always think it stands to reason that if it's like a moment in time, right, that's frozen and he's like in that position, if you were to almost press play on that moment and he had to like choose a wand, right, because it's all about choices. If he had to choose a wand, right, so to choose a path, to choose a way forward, there is the one that's bolted to the wall, and this is the more established path or more secure or explored, in my opinion. But there's always that one in his left hand, and to me this kind of insinuates that when you're making this choice, you're at this crossroad, you're planning how you want to grow and move forward. This is really talking about how intuitively you already know what to do. And so it's so funny because usually with the rest of these readings, this first row is kind of talking about the past life itself. But I almost feel like this is referring a little bit more toward this life. And so you do have, and again, because this came out sideways originally, I feel like you're in this deliberation process. You might go back and forth a little bit. But this is kind of talking about, you have this, you've essentially completed a cycle, you've done some type of spiritual work, and now you get to decide in which way to go. And it's interesting, we have two queens right here. We have, like I said, Queen of Wands reversed, and then the Queen of Pentacles upright. So I was laughing because Queen of Wands is a feminine fire energy and can represent Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. And because she's reversed, and the Queen of Pentacles is upright, I feel like this is really talking about going back and forth between being in this energy that we were just talking about and moving towards something more grounded. And I know this isn't really like that Gemini energy of the North Node, but this is kind of like what we were referring to, is that there's, maybe struggling to lay down roots or struggling to get grounded or to ground your ideas. I feel like this is really talking about going back and forth between this energy of what is comfortable, so maybe always being on the go, maybe always being a little bit kind of both like in the world but not of it, always being sort of off in the ether and struggling to get grounded in what's going on concretely, and this might be a comfort zone for you because of this past life energy, because this is what you lived and what you did. And then with the Queen of Pentacles, there's likely there's likely a lot of growth that can occur in either situation. But if you look here, this feels like a lot of chaos because there's time all over the place, whereas the flowers in this card are kind of like a little bit more kept in one spot. They're very gathered in the bowl. And so while I feel like this might feel more natural to you at times, this feels, this grounded energy feels better, right? So this is kind of like this established path of like what sorry, they're flopping around, and then this sort of intuitive draw toward grounding yourself or grounding what you've learned in order to seek out a different kind of understanding. So that's incredibly powerful. And again, it comes around with this sort of debate over whether or not to surrender this energy. So let's pull you guys some more tarot and dig Zipa. This one's gonna go right here. Oh God, Jesus. Flying out. Okay. Yeah, interestingly enough, I really wanted to look at this one, so I did, and it's the Six of Cups reversed. So there's this call to let go of. Six of Cups is very much a past life energy, and there's this call to release this past life, to kind of move past this. Excuse me. So you guys got Temperance. That's Sagittarius. Boom. Perfect. You got Temperance. You got the Page of Cups reversed and the Ace of Wands. Okay. So what I'm kind of seeing here with Temperance, this is, not only is this, I feel like, a call to be patient with yourself as you sort of make this adjustment, because I do feel like there is this desire to kind of have something a little more grounded, or this desire to ground yourself, but it feels like very almost awkward at a spiritual soul level because it's so antithetical to the life that you lived prior. This also might be about finding kind of like happiness and balance with more, with more material world things. So like maybe, you know, going after like the house or you know, the that job that you want might feel kind of like materialistic or shallow to you at times, but there's also something that you genuinely are curious about. It feels good, it feels grounding, and I feel like there is this pull within yourself, like there's like push-pull dynamic about whether or not to invest in that. And with this Temperance card, this is kind of talking about coming into balance. This is talking about you know, like that it's okay to want both things. It doesn't make you less spiritual to want to live a more rooted existence. It doesn't make you less spiritually adept or open or advanced if this grounded energy makes you feel good. And it's okay to strike a balance between those two parts of yourself, especially with the Queen of Wands coming out reversed. This is something that you've already lived, you've already done, and now is a time to seek balance. Because, with the Page of Cups reversed, I feel like this cost you this opportunity for something you really, really wanted. You know, this is the herbal property for this one is chamomile as well. So this is really talking about finding calming, finding balance, finding like peace and like tranquility. That's the word. And I feel like this is something that's been denied to you in this past life. And now with the Ace of Wands here, again, we have the Two of Wands and the Ace of Wands. This is making that choice. This is going with your intuition, and this is picking what you feel is going to be best for you in this lifetime, and to eschew guilt in the process, because you've already learned this. You've already paid a lifetime to this pursuit. Not saying you can't want that more, but it might be time to kind of ground your ideas a little bit more in the here and now. So I'm going to pull you guys just a couple of cards of advice before I let you go. This one. Okay. You guys actually goes like this. Yeah, the Six of Cups reversed. What did we just say? And the Six of Wands upright. You know what's so funny? Because when I first pulled your cards, this was at the bottom and it was reversed. So I love it. Yeah, so you have two sixes. A lot of this is going to take place in interpersonal relationships. But this is very much saying to release your past life energy, release your past. And this is where you will find victory. To set your intentions for this balance and this happiness at the soul level, and this is where you will find this contentment. This satiation is the word I've been looking for. So I hope this has been helpful. I am wishing y'all the best and the most beautiful things that life has to offer. If you need help with your specific situation, please feel free to check out my shop or DM me. I'm happy to make custom readings. That is just about everything I have today from my beautiful little baby beans with their South Node in Sagittarius. It's been an honor and a joy to get to read for you. Feel free to stop by again. I'd love to have you over. All right. Love you guys. Bye.